In this video, we are going to discuss the Sudoku solver backtracking algorithm. We will go through all the backtracking fundamentals and recursion based cases and the logic behind it. Watch this video till the end as I will give you a line by line simple explanation of all the code that we will be writing in this video.
My name is Aditya Shenoy from Brainy Things, where I make programming simple and fun.
YouTube statistics show that some of you who watch my videos are not subscribed to this channel, so if you end up liking this video, please consider subscribing. It is free and you can always change your mind in future. Sudoku is a puzzle where we are given incompletely filled 9x9 grid like this. Each cell in the grid can have a digit from 1 to 9. So, in each of these cells, the allowed values are 1 to 9 like this. But there are some restrictions. Each horizontal line that you can see over here and the vertical line and the 3x3 smaller grid that is highlighted in the sudoku.com website should not repeat any digit. There are 9 cells in the horizontal line, 9 cells in the vertical line, and 9 cells in the 3x3 smaller grid. So in each of this horizontal line, vertical line, and 3x3 grid, all the numbers from 1 to 9 should be present and there should be no repetition. Now, as we know the rules of Sudoku, we can solve the Sudoku programmatically. To solve the Sudoku board, we will define a function. We will name it as Sudoku solver, and the parameter will be the Sudoku board, which will be the list of integers, which will have a dimension of 9x9, and this Sudoku board will have all the numbers in the original problem like this 1, 8 and 9, and the blank cells will be represented by zeros. Now what we will do is, in this function we will traverse the entire Sudoku board, and if the cell is empty, because we cannot do anything if the cell is already filled, because uh, that is the part of the answer. So this 1, 8 and 9 are the part of the solution. We cannot change that. So for when we traverse the entire Sudoku board, we will only process the current cell if it is blank. So we will start traversing the Sudoku board. So for row in range 9, because there are 9 rows, same goes with column. For column in range 9, if Sudoku board index row column is 0, that is the current cell in the Sudoku board is empty, we will process that. So currently I will keep it as empty because this Sudoku solver will be a recursive function, and eventually each of this in this placeholder, the pass keyword, we will be calling this function recursively and filling the solution. So eventually what will happen is that the Sudoku board will fill completely and there will be no blanks left. In that case, this if condition will not trigger at all. So the entire traversal of the board will complete and the for loop will end over here. And if all these cells are filled, we know that the Sudoku is solved. So we will return true. This Sudoku solver function will return a Boolean value, either true or false. And the Sudoku board, that is a list of lists, will be passed as a reference. So the original Sudoku board only will act as the solution. So the caller who has called the Sudoku solver function can access the same Sudoku board which they have passed in the Sudoku solver function. So now coming back to this if condition, if the cell is blank, as we have seen the rules of the Sudoku, each of the cell can have digits from 1 to 9. So we will initialize a set of allowed numbers and we will assign that to set of range of 1 to 10. This range function is exclusive, so this 10 number will not be included and it will have all the numbers from 1 to 9. And here I am using the set function instead of curly bracket notation because of one thing. Let me demonstrate that. So if I do this, it will initialize only one element in that set, which will be the range object. But instead of that, if I do set of range of 1 to 10, it will extract all the elements from the range and put it in the set. So that is the difference between the curly bracket notation and the set constructor. So we have the allowed number set. Now we can do the brute force approach from here. That is, we can try for all digits like 1 to 9, but that will be very time consuming. And we also have three restrictions with us. That is the horizontal line restriction, the vertical line restriction, and this grid restriction. That is the smaller 3 cross 3 grid restriction. So instead of trying all the possible values, we can use those restrictions to reduce the number of combinations that we try. So what we will do after this is we will start a for loop for counter in range 9, that because there are 9 rows and 9 columns, and in this line we will subtract all the digits that are already present in the current row. So row counter, and we will assign that back to allowed numbers. So what we are doing essentially in this line is we are traversing for all the cells in the current row, that is this row, and all the counter columns, and we are subtracting those from the allowed numbers because we cannot repeat those digits again. Also, when if this cell is 0, that is this cell is blank, this line will not do anything because 0 is not present in the initial set. So the after subtracting also the allowed number set will remain the same. So in this line we are removing all the possibilities which will have duplicate values in the current horizontal row. We can repeat the same line for the vertical line as well. But before that, this line is very lengthy and we can use a shorthand version of minus equal to instead of this. This is equivalent to what we have written before. That is, we are subtracting this Sudoku board row counter from the allowed number set and we are assigning that value back to the allowed number set. We will repeat this line again for the current column, counter and column. So this line is for vertical repetition. This line is for horizontal line restriction. Now there is one more restriction left, that is for the smaller 3 cross 3 grid. So we will use the same approach, that is we will traverse all the cells in the current 3 cross 3 cell and we will subtract those digits from the allowed number set. But how will we traverse that? Because we don't know exactly in which 3 cross 3 box the current row and column is lying. So let's see how we can construct the logic for that. So if the current row is 0, 1 or 2, we want the row start, that is the starting number of the row should be 0. For 3, 4 and 5 row numbers, we want the starting to be 3. So what we are doing is we are rounding down the current row number with the base 3. So 0, 1 and 2 will be rounded down to 0. 3, 4 and 5 will be rounded down to the 3. Rounding down means we are selecting the largest multiple of 3 which is lesser than or equal to the current row number. So 0, 1 and 2, the lowest, the largest number which is a multiple of 3 and which is less than equal to the current row number is 0. Same is for 3 and same is for 6. And we can apply the same logic for the column numbers as well. So there are two methods we can do the rounding down. First method is like this. So I will assign a variable for this box row start is current row minus row mod 3. So we are just subtracting the remainder of 3 from the current row number and we will get the same 0, 3 or 6. Alternatively, what we can do is we can do integer division like this. and then multiply by 3. In either way, we will get the 0, 3 or 6 value. I will go with the second, but you can go with any of these statements. And we have to repeat this line for the column as well. So box call start will be column divided by 3 into 3, like this. Now, as discussed, we have to traverse all the cells in the current box, and we have the starting values, so we can easily traverse this current box. So box row in range, we know the starting value, which is box row start, and it will end at box row start plus 3. Similarly, for box call in range, box call start, and it will end at box call start plus 3. And we will repeat the same line up as before. So allowed numbers minus equal to the set of Sudoku board, but this time it will be box row and box column, like this. So all the three restrictions are covered. So horizontal line restriction, the vertical line restriction, and the grid line, like there is 3x3 grid restriction. Now the digits that are present in the allowed numbers, we have to try for all the combinations now. And by this way, we have reduced the number of combinations that we are trying, and we are essentially reducing the time complexity. So now we will traverse for all allowed number that are present in allowed number set. We will assign this allowed number one by one to the Sudoku board cell. Sudoku board current cell, that is current row is row and current column is column. And we will assign allowed number to this blank cell. And we will see if this allowed number assignment is correct or not. So we will call the Sudoku solver function with the updated Sudoku board over here, and if this value returns true, because of this, that is this allowed number leads to a correct solution, then we will return true again, and thus we don't have to try for any other allowed number combinations. But there is a possibility that this allowed number set is empty because of these these three lines. Also, there is a possibility that even if the allowed number set is non-empty, none of the allowed number inside this set leads to a solution. In that case, none of the recursive call will return true and the for loop will exhaust. So once we do that, we know that this is a dead end. So we can return false. But before returning false, we have to mark this current cell as blank because we are setting this to wrong value here. So we will do Sudoku board row call is 0 over here. And by this, we have completed the Sudoku solver. So to revise, what we have done over here is that we are traversing for all rows and columns in the initial Sudoku board. And if the current cell is blank, which is marked by 0 value, we are initially assigning the allowed number set to all the digits from 1 to 9. And then we are pruning or removing the digits that are not allowed by the Sudoku rules. That is, we are removing all the duplicates that are present in the current horizontal line and the vertical line. Also, we are removing all the duplicates that are present inside the current 3x3 smaller box. After we have removed all the duplicates, we are trying all the allowed number in the allowed number set, and we are assigning that allowed number to the current blank cell and seeing whether this Sudoku board is getting solved or not. And if it is getting solved, that is, if this returns true, we will return true, and thus we are reaching a condition where we have completely solved this Sudoku board. But if the allowed number, none of the allowed numbers in the set leads to a solution, this for loop will exhaust. So we will mark this current cell as blank again and return false so that we can try another combinations. So After this, we will test this. So I will assign Sudoku board as list of list. I can do like this also. So 1, 0, 8, but that will be too time consuming. So what I will do is use the Python functions list of map of int, and in the string I will represent all these values. So this is the entire Sudoku board. You can verify this with the Sudoku board over here, and you can assign any value. This is just one of the random problems that have been generated by the sudoku.com website, and we will first see by printing the Sudoku board whether this Sudoku board has been generated correctly or not. If I run this, it will print all the list of list. This is an optional step, but I will be importing the NumPy library so that the output array is correctly formatted. But this step is not required at all. You can do this without NumPy library as well. So NumPy array and this, and if I run this, it will take some time because the NumPy is being imported, and this will just format this output like this. Now I will add a empty line, and I will call the Sudoku solver and pass the Sudoku board. And as discussed before, the Sudoku board that we are passing in this function will be passed as a reference and not by value. So the final result will present in this current Sudoku board variable only. So what we will do is we will check if Sudoku board returns true, that is the Sudoku solver has reached a solution. We will print the Sudoku board, else we will print that no solution exists. If I run this, as you can see, the solution has been printed over here. We can test this value, but before that we can verify over here only that there is no number repeated in the horizontal line, any of the horizontal lines. None of the values are repeated in the vertical line as well. None of the values are repeated in the 3x3 cells also. Let's see by plugging this value inside this Sudoku board. And as you can see, I have entered exactly this solution in the Sudoku board, and that was correct. Backtracking is a straightforward algorithm if you think of it intuitively. Backtracking involves recursion, so we should pay close attention to its base cases or you may get recursion error. You should never do a dry run of the entire recursion code. You should just verify that each recursive call is covering all the cases and they are working correctly. The time complexity of this algorithm is 9 raised to n squared, where n is the size of the Sudoku board, which is generally 9. This complexity comes because in the worst case we have to check for 9 possible digits in every cell of the board. So this is an exponential algorithm. I hope that now you will find backtracking algorithms more intuitive and easy after watching this video. If yes, please press that like button, comment any feedback that you have for this video or this channel, share this video with your friends. The code that I write in all my videos of this channel is available in my GitHub profile, whose link is in the description. You can connect to me via LinkedIn, whose link is again in the description. If you want to see a line-by-line simple explanation of data structures and algorithms like this, check out the playlist over here. If you want to learn Python built-in functions along with various Python features, tips, tricks, and real project examples, then check out the playlist over here. If you want to see a hands-on game development project, then check out the playlist over here. And I will see you in the next video.